Hello everyone, I am Tacit, and today we have our first event week since version 6.7 and a few things to go over with that, as well as that isn't just all of the orb related stuff, as there are a few things that finally fully initialized as of today, including of course the Crinkle Mess, as well as a few other things. Of course, we'll also be going over the Stone Sorcerer event, a bunch of teams for everything throughout the week, and we'll go from there. So, first things first, let's talk about some of the things with 6.7. Of course, one of the most noteworthy things with it, which we've covered multiple videos on already, which you guys are probably very aware of, and that is, of course, all the new orbs. You can find these within the orb drop table now, things that can upgrade mythics, things that can upgrade pets that you have a single copy of, like the cosmetic pets, and things that can upgrade even the forging scrolls, or the doom weapons. So now you can finally get those upgraded without having to worry about the event. So all those have been added and are very nice. However, that's not the only thing that ended up happening in the most recent patch. One of those things, and that took place today, we have two new warbands that we can now end up getting. So here we have the Mech Masters warband right over here. And this ends up giving you a new slot, a new weapon, and a new, what looks like a +2 yellow, +1 green, -1 purple banner. Aside from that, we also got this other new one, the Hunter's warband. And this one, of course, also comes with a new slot, a new weapon, the Vampiric Mark, as well as a new banner, which looks like a +2 green, +2 brown, and -1 yellow. Ooh, that's a good truffle banner. Oh, I might need to go change that on that one team. But I'll probably leave it as the default in case some of you guys can't get these things because you don't have enough warp coins. However, that one's actually really relevant. And that's the one that Truffle has been needing for quite some time. The biggest issue is if you ever wanted to go +2 green, +1 brown, or something similar, you had to minus a color that was sometimes needed, like for example the red on Mirage Queen. However, now you can minus something you don't use at all on your team, so that one's definitely the better one, I would say. Though there might be some good ones for the other one. I haven't really looked into it, but that one's definitely more immediately usable, from what I could tell. Aside from that, of course, we also got a brand new event added to the game. So, of course, we had this for Halloween. However, they did change a couple things with it. For one, they added this Golden Holiday Battle. I believe this just gives you like 10 extra points. It basically just counts as one single sigil. You get one by default, and you also buy more with money. This definitely is not required. It might seem like it is because you get like this max golden pet. However, there is an alternative way to get this max golden pet. You may notice that this event shop over here looks kind of similar. You can still do the entire event with gems, has the same rewards as before. However, there are additional rewards compared to what was initially here. With the Crinkle Toy Bag, after you get this pet 5 times, you'll be able to get the golden one. So you'll be able to get one copy of that and not need to worry about this whole thing. So instead of spending what I believe is 10 bucks to end up getting this, instead, if you want to get this pet, you could either spend 10 bucks and get a bunch of free sigils and some other loot along the way, or you could buy this 5 times, buy it one additional time, and then boom, you got yourself the golden pet, and then you simply just go and use some pet orbs, either 3 small pet orbs or a major pet orb at a later time in order to have the golden pet max. But just pick up the one for now, just so you'll be good to go. So you basically have to buy this 6 times. However, there are additional loot underneath these other ones, so all 3 of them aren't that good. Underneath the pet food, you will also be able to get white pet food. This isn't really that good because the amount that you get is pretty minuscule. Buying the pet food once is still somewhat okay value if you're just looking for basically some pet food in a pinch. However, overall, you don't really need to go get the white food underneath, as is very bad value relative to how many gems it costs. Same as the Orb of Power underneath it. You can still end up getting the Orb of Power if you want to get the achievement, if you haven't already. However, underneath it is a major orb for 750, which is way too much to spend on a major orb. If you want to do that, you might as well just craft it in Soulforge. Aside from that, underneath the Treatstone bundle, probably the most interesting is a Anu Medal. So you can end up getting a Anu Medal for 700 each. The biggest issue with this is relative to how many gems you'd have to spend in order to get this. It's one of those that if you bought the $10 pet, or bought it to basically get it max this way, it's one of those that you might end up investing into if you like bought fully into that and then have a bunch of spares. You might want to do that and get the Anus as your main excess, as it has some of the better values as far as any of these categories are concerned. However, it is still way too overpriced. Even the 500 gems for one that you can sometimes get on your daily offer isn't really that worth it. And this one's slightly more than that, due to how the currency ends up working. So overall, most of the excess ones are probably worth skipping, except for getting one copy of the toy bag. As far as the full breakdown of this, luckily there is a nice sheet that was posted on the Gems of War forum by Lev. And they basically went over all of the points and everything that you'll end up needing. A long story short, to summarize all of this, just buy the 50 gem pack every single day and you'll pretty much be good to go. If I'm not mistaken, this bottom value does not take into account the one free battle, and if it does, then you just might want to do an extra 100, because if you want to get absolutely everything of importance, you only need to spend 2,500 total currency. So what would you need to do with this 2,400, which means you'd have to spend 500 or 700 total gems, 50 per day. Basically, what you would end up getting for this is the winter armor, which is that one cosmetic armor, which we have no clue when it's going to be coming back, so definitely make sure to get it. You'll be able to go get yourself one copy of the Christmas, the new legendary. This will end up technically costing you... you basically get 3 copies when you get it, and then you simply just use a blue orb on it. So now we're up to 900. Then we would end up getting the pet 5 times, which is another 500, which brings us to 1,400. You then want to go and buy the only one in the new offers that's going to be worth it, the golden version of that, which will cost 200 additional, bring us to 1,600 total. And now at 1,600 total, if you've already done the power orb in the past, you're pretty much done. That's all you need, 1,600. You technically don't even need to spend the full 700 gems. However, if you still need the power orb, of course, from 1,600, we need another 800 for 2,400 total, which brings us, of course, to basically spending 50 gems per day. If this does include the free battle, you would have to spend 100 gems on one day. If this doesn't include the free battle, which I believe it doesn't, then you're actually good to go. That's all you have to do, 50 gems per day, and boom, you get it all. And you kind of make that judgment all the way on the final day or final few days based on how your margin is, on if you need that extra 100 or not. And that's basically all you have to do. And then for basically around 700, 800 gems, or potentially even less, if you already got the power orb, you'll be able to get absolutely everything of importance from this event. Because with that, the single golden pet, you just simply max out on a later point, you just simply use a blue orb on that, and everything else is just good to go as soon as you get it. So long story short, get winter armor, 1 copy of Kris Kringle, and then use a blue orb. Buy this 5 times, then buy it 1 additional time in order to get the golden pet. And if you still need the achievement, get the Orb of Power. This can be done by just spending 50 gems per day on these battles, meaning you'll have to do 6 battles per day in the mode. And overall, this mode's pretty easy. If you just go do the thing over here, it does get a little bit harder. We'll be showing a couple teams for that in a moment, a little bit later. However, during this video, here's this one standard low rarity one that you can end up utilizing. Now, you know what? Let's even use one of the golden battles here. So if I'm understanding this correctly, this basically just, it doesn't matter when you use the golden battles, you could use them whenever. I believe this gives you a flat rate of like 10 extra points, and it just basically counts as a singular sigil. So overall, not too bad. You just end up doing this. Unfortunately, you only get one for free, but you can buy more. However, you don't really need to. So as you can see here, we got 30 crystals. Normally we would have gotten 20, as you can see. So yeah, just a flat rate of 10. So it doesn't matter when you use it. It doesn't matter if you use it at the earlier section, later section. It seems to be a flat rate of 10 pretty much whenever you end up using it. So it's a little bit of a bonus, but for the most part, you can easily just completely do it for the free battles. And of course, if we want to just use the free battles, we could just simply click on another one of these battles, and of course it'll do that. And after 5 battles, which should be our 5th battle here, you can end up doing the upgrade, which we can end up showing here. Unless you're super early on in the game, you pretty much always want to click the upgrade button. They're not going to really scale past you at any point, especially given that we have an infinite truffle loop. You can just, infinite on them and be good to go. It doesn't really matter how much they scale to. So as you can see here, you can either click no change or keep going forward. You should pretty much always keep going forward unless you're super early on in the game. This will allow you to get more crystals over time, and all the calculations that we're showing on the other page assumes you always go forward with every single one of these battles. So definitely make sure to do so. As you can see now, we're getting 21 crystals instead of 20. Then goes to 22, so on and so forth. It just keeps going up from there. And that's pretty much the event. Pretty much the same as before, except now you want to go get an extra bag from here. You basically buy it 5 times, 1 additional time. And aside from that, just the same as before. Buy one, buy one, buy one. Use the blue orb, you're good to go. And you can even just skip the Orb of Power if you already got it and got the achievement earlier. Though, unfortunately, not much else to really spend it on. I guess the first time of the pet food's okay. But you just spend less gems then. Instead of spending 700 gems, you can maybe get away with like 400-ish gems, 350, somewhere around there. So it's a pretty cheap event to get everything. These are honestly pretty reasonable events if you're just going for the bare minimum of completion as far as getting all the unique loot. Anyways, that's a quick rundown on the most recent holiday event. Let's get into all the other normal stuff that we tend to cover in these videos. So, first things first, let's go over the new troop that just got added, which honestly, not that bad. So it comes with purple-brown arcanes if you want to go stock up on these for only 200 glory each, since it gives 2 of them. And this is an interesting one. The start of its ability sounds pretty standard. Converts all green gems to brown, then creates 3 brown dragon gems. So basically a standard converter with a little bit of extra on top. So that's cool. However, what's making this thing actually viable? Well, he uses brown. So he is, I believe, the first, unless I'm forgetting of one, there's a bunch of troops in the game that are basically standard converters, where they convert some color into a different color. Like any of them. Like, for example, Apothecary does something similar, where you can end up targeting the color and then converting into it. Unfortunately, you don't get to target what color you end up doing with this. However, he feeds into himself. So, actually, you know what? Yeah, this isn't the first one, because we have things like, never mind. We have things like green slime. Okay, so it's kind of like that. It's kind of like the whole, like, green slimes and stuff like that. Another really close comparison. Oh gosh, what's that one? The Sea Dog one. That basically is like or Deckhand. That one red-blue that converts a bunch and then feeds back into himself. Yeah, okay, so we kind of already have this. However, the fact that it does Dragon Gems going to be quite a bit more interesting, as this might actually be one of the better uses of Dragon Gems that are currently within the game, as not only are you going to be able to get your green to brown converts and know exactly where that is, but you're also going to get 3 additional of the same color that you need on top of that. And on top of that, you're getting the explosions. So assuming you're connecting any amount of it, you're going to be getting all the explosions below. So all of your brown will be intact, and you'll still get all the extra excess mana from explosions, and all that feeds back into yourself. So if you get a nice board clear from the 3 Dragon Gems that just probably cleared half the board, well, you'll be able to go and have a new board, cast them again, and kind of keep going from there. He definitely has a lot of potential, even has 50% score reduction, even is a construct, so easy 50% mana start off a Geomancer, which means you could go like him, Chalcedony, Hero as Geomancer, one other option, something along the lines of that. So has a lot of potential to be good. We didn't actually incorporate him into any of the teams that we're going to be doing today. However, he definitely has build potential if you're building into like a 4x construct team, or if you're building into a very heavy brown team that would benefit for it. One thing I'm actually most curious to see how he'll do is in Brown Guild War Day. The only big issue with this is there are some converters that convert green to brown, like that one red-yellow dwarf that converts green to brown off of Empower, and that's going to hard counter him pretty badly on Guild War Days. However, if that isn't on the opposing team, he could be worth considering to use on a Brown Guild War Day, assuming they don't have that direct hard counter to his ability. So overall, I would definitely say keep an eye on it. Definitely has some build potential, particularly in Brown and or Construct teams going forward. Anyways, aside from that, let's talk about the event key drop table. It is pretty skippable this week, though there are a few things that are of noteworthy mention to some degree. So as far as what's in the Hellcrag drop table, everything that you see here, except for 5 things, so gosh, that's a lot given that there's barely anything here. However, the 5 that are not in the drop table are the 4 Obsidian Death Troops, of course, the 4 from the faction, as well as the Tower. The Tower is a tarot card that is only in the Vault Key, and of course the Obsidian Deaths are from, well, Obsidian Deaths faction. Everything else that you see here is obtainable. I would say the 2 most noteworthy ones are, this is the first time Zenith can be obtained with event keys, so if you want to go and end up getting yourself a Zenith, double Zenith for those Doomskull related teams, you can end up doing that. However, the main thing you want to get if you don't already have it or don't have a max one and you want to get it max is a Chalcedony. So this thing's absolutely insane. It has infinite loop into itself. All you have to do is build a pure construct team, which kind of insane. It's very similar to that of Rogue Spider, if you ever, or sorry, Night Spider, though I call it Rogue Spider because it's using 4x Rogue teams. But it's very similar to Night Spider in that it kind of just pseudo infinite loop. So this one does it even better because it creates only one singular color, which has a lot higher chance of landing than creating 2 colors simultaneously. So it basically does a small damage poke, then creates a bunch of brown, boosted by construct allies. It runs very similarly to Truffle in how loopable it is, though not quite because it can ever so occasionally miss since it doesn't have auto extra turn. But it is a very, very consistent, almost infinite loop that just infinite loops into itself. All you need is 3 other constructs in a team and you're good to go. And obviously you're feeding pretty much infinite brown to your team, so you just feed them a bunch of brown, cast all their abilities, have Chalcedony just keep going on mana, and you just got yourself a win. And it's just a great way to get a lot of brown mana accumulation. On top of all that, it even has a 50% score reduction, just to make sure that as it's getting its initial mana, it will not die. So yeah, really great if you don't already have that troop. Zenith say, okay, pick up. Everything else here, kind of average, utility-based on occasion. The biggest issue with the event key drop table and why you probably don't want to open too many event keys is Hellcrag is the newest kingdom currently within the game. And due to that, it has the least number of troops of any kingdom, which makes it so you don't really have much of a drop table to obtain from. So you're not really getting that many troops, which if nothing else, it'll be easier to get the troops that you're looking for. However, you're just not getting much from it, so if you are going to spend some event keys, spend a very small amount. Otherwise, it's a pretty skippable week, and definitely not one you should throw too many event keys on. Even if you need the Mythic, I would just wait until a second Mythic comes around, and then maybe do event keys for it, like the next time it rolls around or something similar. But anyways, that's a rundown on that. One other thing to talk about, since we were somewhat mentioning Underworld things, Primal Rift, as of last Friday, now has the troop available. That one Dark Forest Troll thingy thing, or whatever it was called, which we'll see his name in a second. I think this is called Dark Forest Troll. But he is indeed in the drop table now. We ended up getting him maxed earlier. Let's see, can we actually end up getting a copy of him? I know you're here. I know when I was doing this earlier trying to get a copy of him, you just never wanted to drop. Is it going to do the same thing again? Wait, is this the wrong kingdom? Wait. This is the right kingdom, right? We're just that unlucky? Are we just that unlucky again? Or did I accidentally click the wrong kingdom again? Because I would not... Oops, I just clicked the thing. Luckily, I need the treasure, so it doesn't really matter too much, because I do need that treasure. Okay, I'm about to double check where this guy is from. I am almost guaranteed it's from here, and we're just getting this unlucky. Wait. Oh, Sacred Treasure. I don't mind Sacred Treasure at all. Wait, hold up. I'm about to look up where he is. It is Primal Rift, right? Hold up. Are we just that unlucky? Wait, we might have gotten a copy. Yeah, it is Primal Rift. Okay, would you like to drop? He is in that drop table. I had the same issue earlier. Did they make him, like, artificially harder to obtain or something? Or did we see a drop of him and I just didn't notice it when it happens? But, yeah, this is Primal Rift. Hello? I would like to see the Forest Troll. I know for sure he's in there because I used to have 0 copies. And this is how we got one. Okay, we're getting really, really unlucky on this thing. Hello, Primal? Please, Dark Forest Troll. He's in here somewhere. Hello? I know 100% for sure. I've gotten him here earlier. What? Did they, like, remove him as of the Monday event or something? Because he was here last Friday and last weekend. Okay, am I just going insane? Are we just going to get that unlucky on just trying to show one single copy of this guy being in drop table? Because I want to show him in the thingy. Luckily, we have so many Chaos Shards that this doesn't really matter, but... Did they accidentally remove him from drop table? Okay, maybe don't try going for him then. Did they, like... remove him? Like, this isn't the wrong kingdom. It is Primal Rift. Okay, that is really weird. Did they remove them from drop table randomly? Because I had 0 copies of him. He was added to drop table. Well, I guess just wait on that then, maybe. Or if any of you have had a similar issue, feel free to leave it in the comment section below. But, yeah, that's weird. I've owned 0 copies of him. And then we ended up getting some copies last weekend. And maybe the Monday update kind of mixed up the drop table or something? That or we are just absurdly unlucky at getting this thing right now. Anyways, but yeah, he was added to this drop table. If he still is within... There he is. Okay, I am just ultra unlucky. But yes, he is indeed in the drop table. Though apparently maybe at a lower rate because, gosh, wow. But as you can see, yes, he is there. And all you need is 1 copy because you can just use 2 small blues if you don't want to spend a bunch of shards. Or you can spend a bunch of shards, get like 6 copies, then use ascend him, then use a blue orb, so on and so forth. But yes, he is now in the drop table. He was added to the drop table last Friday. So this is the first event week video where we kind of go over it, just as a reminder that he is indeed in drop table, though maybe at a lower rate because, gosh, that took absolutely forever. Anyway, so other things that we have going on. Of course, we have a pretty standard world event. Just don't take the lowest rarity one, which is the Gate of Souls, and you're pretty much taking the correct room every single time, so pretty straightforward. As far as teams, it's just Hellcrag, so you could build any gimmicky team off of Chalcedony. Literally, as long as you have Chalcedony on it, you're pretty much good to go. Ideally, Geomancer too, so you get the 50% mana start, but pretty straightforward event. You basically just tear apart with any Chalcedony team you wish, as it's a pure Hellcrag restriction, and almost everything there is a construct. As far as event things that we have going on, of course, the Crinkle Mist is lasting for 2 weeks. However, as of the 6.7, there will also be a 3rd additional week. Keep in mind that the event itself only lasts for 2 weeks as far as when you can do the battles. However, there will be 1 additional week where you can spend the event currency if you forgot to do it all the way at the end. So if you happen to have forgotten to use any of it, you will be able to have 1 additional week to spend that currency. And then after that, it'll be gone forever, whatever currency you didn't end up using. So basically, it's still the same 2-week-long event, just an extra week to spend it, but not an extra week to earn. So it's still a 2-week-long event, but you just have that extra time to use it in case you forget to do it on like that Sunday, the last Sunday, or something similar. As any currency not used will be gone forever after the event ends. So on Tuesday, we have ourselves a faction event for Depths of Sin. Wednesday, we actually have a new pet coming in, though we can't see it right here since we have a different pet right now. However, it's basically like a pickle-looking 2022 holiday pet. Of course, we ended up having one last Saturday come in. I believe it was the 2019 one. What you'll be handing out on Christmas Day on our normal nightly stream, we'll have the 2021, I believe it was, the Shelf on an Elf. We'll have that pet. And you'll be able to get the 2022 one this Wednesday. Thursday, we have ourselves the class event for Geomancer, really insanely good hero class, especially with pure construct teams. And this Friday, we were originally supposed to have the invasion event we had last weekend, however, they changed it around for the holidays in order to make it an arena event. They are very well aware that pretty much no one plays arena event, so they figure since some people might be busy on Christmas, they'd make it the most underplayed event in the entire game. So you could pretty much just ignore entirely the arena event this weekend, as it's basically a non-existent event that will be taking place. Anyways, as far as Soulforge, a couple good things to mention. Most notably, Phoenicia. We just covered a video the other day going over some of the best things to metal, and of course, Phoenicia is pretty high up on that list. Probably see me using it almost every single day just because it's a good quick kill option for dailies. It's absolutely great to be using for pretty much any quick kill that you can end up one-shotting with her. Next is Guard's Avatar. Guard's Avatar, we're even mentioning it for the Tuesday team, for the faction team. It's just a really good underworld option. Basically, whenever you can't use Forest Troll, not Forest Troll, Rowan, that one green-blue that boosts based on all of our armor. This is basically the next alternative. He does the same thing, but based on a different coloration. except he hits everything simultaneously. But it essentially does the exact same thing that you're trying to do, which is one-shot the entire enemy team, boost ratioed by your armor. And this covers pretty much all the colors, though not all of them, that Rowan doesn't cover. Rowan is a green-blue, and this is a yellow-brown-red, so you're normally able to use one or the other. And for those instances where you can't use Rowan, you have Guard's Avatar as that option, so definitely pretty high up to consider. And aside from that, there's one other one to end up mentioning, which was somewhere's here. Where'd it go? The Fairy Godmother, another one that we mentioned on that list earlier. However, it's basically the best way to feed things that are full mana block. So let's say, for example, that you're using two things that are both green, red, purple on your team. Well, you don't need to worry about that because Wish Gems feed all mana to every single ally. They either give full mana to 1, 2, 3, 4, or all of your allies plus all of your enemies. And this basically allows you to feed mana directly to things that are fully blocked. So it doesn't matter if they have like a 30 mana cost fully blocked on all three colors, as you can just simply give them a Wish Gem, have it end up triggering, they end up getting their full mana, and boom, you're good to go. So it has that main mechanic, and it's pretty much the main way that you'd want to mana accumulate if you're using a lot of really high mana cost stuff, particularly really high mana cost stuff that are full blocking each other. So definitely a great utility troop to end up having your hands on. Not a must-have. It can backfire very easily, so you generally don't want to do it in PvP-like situations. It's really high risk, high reward if you are doing it in some kind of team like that, like for a guild war. I generally wouldn't advise it, though you could end up doing so, especially as the meta keeps getting higher and higher mana cost stuff. As we keep getting more high mana cost viable troops, this does become increasingly better over time. So definitely a utility troop to keep an eye on, and one that you might end up wanting to pick up if you already feel like you have a lot of other mythics on your hands. Aside from that, unfortunately, nothing really too good underneath the weapon category. You can pick up whatever you want if you're just looking for completion's sake, and that's pretty much all there is to end up picking up. If you are going to go for something, any of the ones that end up giving mana based on multi-type, like for example, Watchful Bane, which ends up doing it for the Hellcrag thing, which you can somewhat synergize. The biggest issue with this is it doesn't end up using brown mana, which would have been insane if it does, because then you can synergize it with Chalcedony. But otherwise, there is Stone Slicer. Unfortunately, Stone Slicer is not available from this event. I believe it's from Drak Zoom, if I'm not mistaken. So unfortunately, you can't get Stone Slicer here, which is that one construct weapon, which synergizes insanely well with pure construct teams. Unfortunately, it does not reside from Hellcrag specifically, so you aren't able to get it in the Soul Forge this week. So the next closest thing is this Watchful Blade, or just whatever else you want to pick up for completionist purposes. Anyways, lastly now, let's go over a bunch of teams. So a bunch of teams for every single thing throughout the week. So let's start all the way from the top with the World event. So the World event is a Hellcrag restriction, which basically means build whatever wacky Chalcedony team you want. Whatever you want to build is basically up to you. Here's a little bit more of a higher rarity one, and if you're looking for something super low rarity, well, you can literally just spam a billion Chalcedonies. You can basically build it however you want. In this team, we're kind of building it around the Obsidian axis to get a nice big boost ratio kill for that AoE hit. However, you can do it in pretty much any way, including just literally just casting Chalcedony until you win. So it doesn't really matter, just any kind of Chalcedony build and you're good to go. Next, we have ourselves the Blue Holiday event. So this is, of course, for the Christmas event that's lasting for the next 2 weeks. For this first one, we're using a very high rarity team, using O'Shea's Tome and basically a standard High King Iron Gut, using Vashtagan as our curse option. However, keep in mind, in this mode, you are allowed to kill out allies, so we can end up killing out our High King Iron Gut to get a nice big damage down onto the opposing enemy team. And we're just using a Barrier Brown Hero class in first slot to stay alive, O'Shea's Tome to feed all of our mana, and we're pretty much just good to go. Next, we have a lower rarity version, which is basically just Infinite Truffle. While this does use legends, it uses Underworld legends, which are very easy to obtain. King Gob Truffle can be obtained by throwing shards at the Amethyrax faction, and the other one, the Mirage Queen, can be thrown by throwing shards at the Sunken Fleet faction. And you just get them fully traded, and then you just win. Unfortunately, this team doesn't have a Green Storm to end up doing a true Infinite Loop. However, you can pretty much still Infinite Loop off of Farce Troll, Double King Gob Truffle. They just have a very, very slight chance that you could fail after about 20 to 50 repeats, which, you know, the enemy team's probably dead by then. But it can theoretically fail at some point. Anyways, next up we have ourselves the faction event for Depths of Obsidian Depths. As far as that, it is a brown-purple restriction, so this first team, speaking of Guard's Avatar, we're just using Guard's Avatar team for this, pretty standard. Next we have ourselves, also pretty standard, just High King Iron Gut Zulgoth, just using a Thrall Leprechaun for our mana accumulation here, as we do have access to brown and purple, meaning we do have the full combo. For Pure Faction, you can either run 3 or 4 Obsidian Axes, with the Dark Golem mostly being here because it's a 50% score reduction troop. It's not required, though it does make sure that you ideally don't lose. As long as you have 3 Obsidian Axes going into the final fight, you should be perfectly fine to go win the Pure Faction battle. Next, we have the Geomancer class. Geomancer class event is happening this Thursday. It'll be restricted to specifically constructs from Hellcrag. And basically just build any Chalcedonian team you wish, including just all the Chalcedoni. In this case, we're using Black Manacle because unlike the other event where you're restricted specifically to Hellcrag weapons, this event you're allowed to use whatever you want. So you can use Stone Slicer, you can use Black Manacle. The reason we're using Black Manacle here is for the full AoE damage. So we're basically just casting our Chalcedony initially, spamming Black Manacle, and then we still have full mana on Chalcedonies to give us more blue Black Manacle, and then we just basically keep spamming Black Manacle with Chalcedony being the mana accumulation to be able to get it back up, which is why we have it a little bit further up in the team. And aside from that, I figured to show at least one team for one of the mythics, and why not the most standard one, which is Phoenicia. And this is pretty much just a quick kill team for a lot of dailies, like Adventure Board, Pet Battles, stuff like that. It's Phoenicia, Magma Dragon, Mirage Queen, Leprechaun, a couple different ways that you can end up building it, like putting Hero here with Perpetual Redstorm if you wish, if you want to run some kind of certain weapon. But this is just one way that you can end up running it. One nice thing about Magma Dragon, if you're not going for Perpetual Redstorm, is this actually has, well, Perpetual Redstorm, Red-Brown. Specifically, so you still end up getting a storm, and this also feeds mana back into himself as well. So you can kind of run it however you want. You can run it with Perpetual Red, you can run it with Magma Dragon's Red-Brown, Team Sting, gosh, what's his name? Steam Tinkwhistle, whatever is that one's name. What is, gosh, why can't I not get that one guy's name? But he also creates a storm that double feeds into Phoenicia as well, which you can end up utilizing as well. So there's a lot of double storms, single storms that you can end up incorporating in order to make it work depending on what you're really looking to do. And that one's mostly just a double AoE poke to make sure they have the additional damage in case a single Phoenicia is not enough to kill out a battle there. But anyways, guys, I believe that is a full rundown on everything. If you still have any other questions, feel free to leave it in the comment section below. Tonight we'll be going over all of the tasks for the week, of course. I believe we're on campaign chapter 6, so we're getting near the end there, as well as getting that pretty good mythic at the end. Speaking about mythics, we will be covering the mythic tier list on every mythic, hopefully within next week. If not before Christmas, definitely before the new year, covering a tier list on every single mythic. So still working on that, and we'll have that out pretty soon. Anyways, guys, enjoy the holidays, and I hope you all have a wonderful week. Goodbye, everyone, and thanks for watching.